We got the platinum, chat. We got the platinum in this stupid little game. This stupid clown of a game. Do you know what, chat? What I've been absolutely buzzing to do the moment since all of this started happening is deleting it from my console. It is honestly the worst game I've ever played. There's too many bugs in it. There's too many glitches. Do not waste your money on Lollipop Chainsaw RePOP. It is awful. Hey everybody, welcome to today's video, and this video is going to be slightly different where I'm just talking to the camera and I'll overlay some clips, but this is more about my experience of playing a game. And as you can probably see by the title, the game that we're talking about today is Lollipop Chainsaw RePOP. I understand this has got quite the cult following, and I really wanted to be a part of it, like I generally did, and I hate having to make this video, but I think that people need to be aware of what they could potentially be buying. And of course, this is just my experience. I have spoken with a couple of other people who have had varied experiences. You know, some people have had a great time with this game, other people haven't. I personally didn't, so I think it's worth me sharing my thoughts on the game, sharing the issues that I've faced in the game alongside the platinum journey, because, you know, this is a trophy hunting channel primarily. You know, I do other things as well, but I do love getting platinum trophies, and my experience when going for the platinum of Lollipop Chainsaw was completely ruined, unfortunately. So I'm going to get into this. If you're offended by this, you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. I understand you may love Lollipop Chainsaw and you may ride or die for it, but just listen, hear me out, see what I've got to show you, acknowledge my points, and, you know, hopefully your mind could be changed a little bit. Of course, if you've had a good experience, I'm super jealous of you, but in all honesty, my experience was quite awful. Like, look at that, the finger went through the guitar. So starting things off, when I first turned this game on stream, I was super excited to play it. You know, I've never played it on PlayStation 3, but, you know, I've seen my buddy Castromo do a whole platinum journey of the PS3 version. I saw his video, you know, I was like, oh, this game looks good. And then many months later, you know, we're getting a remaster, or is it a remake? I'm not quite sure what it is. You know, it started off as a remake, then they pivoted to a remaster, and then they're still claiming it's a remake. I don't really know what category this game falls into first and foremost, which is part of the problem, because when you say that a game's a remake, I expect something like Final Fantasy VII remake and also Rebirth, something built from the ground up that looks completely amazing. It can deviate a little bit, but it can also be a traditional remake. You know, Dead Space and Silent Hill 2, and also Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, I think it's called. They're all remakes, and they're all sort of built in newer engines. Some of them stay traditional to the original source material, and obviously Final Fantasy VII deviates. I don't know what this game is. To me, it's a remaster, right? It's just a copy and paste, and I really wish that they did just copy and paste the PlayStation 3 version, because the game, it looks okay, but it still looks like a PS3 game, which is kind of disappointing. If it's a remaster, then fair enough, but it kind of got marketed originally as a remake, which is kind of disappointing. I was expecting the game to look like Dead Rising Deluxe. That's my, you know, this is my own fault for not doing a bit more due diligence, but I was expecting something a lot better in terms of game quality wise, right? It is what it is, we can get past that, but, you know, opening up the game, it looked okay. I wasn't blown away from it, but I paid £35. I was like, fair enough. If I paid any more money, I'd have been even more disappointed. So I was like, okay, fair enough. This is what the game looks like. Doesn't look bad. The cutscenes look nice. You know, they've been sort of done well for a remaster, remake. I don't even know what it is. I don't even know what to call it. Just it. It looked okay, right? And then we get into the sort of opening scene, and my initial thought on the live stream when I played this was, wow, this combat is delayed. It's like I'm hitting a button and it's like I'm 1 second behind. It just didn't feel good. It felt like a lot of PS3 titles. It felt really clunky, and it just didn't feel like it aged well. And I guess if you was a fan of the original and you really love the combat system, then, you know, maybe you're going to enjoy playing it on next gen. But I feel like we're so conditioned within modern gaming to we expect fast-paced, polished action sequences in games, and this just felt really slow at points and kind of like choppy when you're trying to put together some combinations. Alongside this, you know, you're meant to press QTEs and sort of interact buttons, so like you press square or triangle to like chainsaw down a fence. I'd press the button and it wouldn't register, which is really weird. I don't understand how a button prompt doesn't recognize the input from the controller, and you know, it will take a few seconds to do the movement that you're meant to be doing. Opening sequence of the game, super disappointing, let alone from that the sort of voice acting, or just the syncing up of the mouths a lot of the time was kind of, you know, delayed and a bit out of sync, which was really weird, because I don't think these issues are in the PS3 version, you know.
Bring them the
Oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking of something else.
Thanks, Juliet.
I'm really sorry.
Totally gonna friend request you today.
I understand the PS3 version probably didn't debut well, but I guess it had its problems, but they weren't major issues, right? You know, people still loved it for what it is and got past it. And I just find it's really bizarre that you're releasing an old game, you know, in a new format, and it's like it's worse than the thing you pumped out on a PlayStation 3, which was, you know, what, about 14 years ago. I just find it bizarre that the quality is almost worse. Again, I don't know how they've made this game. I think they may have put it into a new engine and then kind of stopped and, you know, got lost in the source in a way. But I'm looking at things, and I know nothing about game development, but if it's a simple port of a PS3 to PS4/5 remaster, let's say, where you're just, you know, making graphics more HD and making it look a little bit nicer, if it's a copy and paste job, nothing really changes. Like, I guess you may be able to tweak some of the bugs that were in the original, but in theory, if you're just taking A to B, you probably shouldn't be getting the issues in the new version. And it's apparent that these issues weren't something in the original, which is really frustrating to see. And it's like, I don't really know the direction they've gone, because they've not remade it, because it doesn't look any better. It looks the same, but they've added a bunch of problems which weren't in the original version. I'm not going to complain about the licensing of music, because I understand that licenses run out for music, but original fans of Lollipop Chainsaw, I understand, are quite disappointed at the fact that some of the songs and sequences have had to change because of the licensing. I'm not really affected by that, because I don't know what I'm missing, but I can understand, you know, the criticisms of that. But moving into more so my platinum journey, and, you know, after my initial thoughts, you know, I honestly thought that I brought a stinker of a game, and my thoughts were in turn, you know, true as we get through this journey. So the loading screen, right? There's a yellow loading screen, which is apparent through the majority of the game. Probably 80 to 85% of the loading screens in the game are this still image with a yellow background. You'll be seeing it on screen now, and you see that throughout the entire game. And my issue with this is that I'm playing on a PS5. This is meant to be a 4K 4K game, right, for a PS5 and PC, and also I think Xbox Series X or whatever the equivalent is. It's meant to be a 4K game, and I'm looking at a still image, and it is 144p, i.e. it looks like it was made on a potato, and it also looks like I'm playing on a potato. I'm playing on a PS5. I'm playing on a very good monitor, like the perfect monitor to complement, you know, the PS5's output, what it can do. I've played other games and they look fine. This isn't a me problem. This is a game problem, right? I'm looking at this loading screen, and Juliet's eye, right? One, it looks swollen, like she's been stung by multiple bees. I don't understand that. Very odd artistic design choice there. Her eye is like twitching, and it's almost like it's almost like it's a loading screen within a loading screen. Like there's got two images it's flicking between, and her eye is like jumping up and down, and it's very pixelated. It looks like she's tweaking on meth or something. I don't really understand how it looks this bad. Bearing in mind it is a still it's not even a cutscene, it's a still loading screen. How do you get the quality of that so bad in a game? When I think of an image like that for a loading screen in a game, I think you send it to the art department, right? I'm assuming they're the people that do the artwork for the game. You say, right, this was in the original game. Please make us, you know, update it, make it up to 4K or however it works in Photoshop, right? Get the art team to do that. Alternatively, if the art team's feeling a little bit lazy, they could pump it into an AI generator and upscale it that way. I'm going to test out how it looks in an AI generator and put my version of what I've done, a person with no experience in Photoshop, just minimal YouTube thumbnail experience that I've learnt myself, and see how it compares to the image. Because, you know, there's two options there. You can remake it and keep it traditional of how it was and just update the quality, or you can pump it into an AI device and it will also bring up the quality, hoping that it looks, for the most part, you know, similar to the original image. I don't understand how they've fumbled the bag so badly on this one, and it's such a minor critique, but if you can't get the basics right, i.e. a loading screen, I really don't have faith in the rest of your game, in the rest of your game being polished, that is. You know, if they're making sloppy mistakes on a loading screen, as a developer, they've lost my respect. And if I'm part of that team that's made the game, I would be disappointed if that's my artwork and it's going out when it's pixelated. I think it's a disgrace that that's happened.
It's embarrassing. It's a disgrace. That's what it is, a disgrace.
Moving forwards to my platinum journey and my platinum experience, I wasn't really engaged in this game just from the way it played. It did grow on me, and I did sort of, as I got further into the game, I started enjoying it a lot more. And I don't really have any critiques about the story. You know, I think the story's goofy. I think it's funny. I think it's a short bit of fun. Do I think it's worth the money for about 5 hours of a campaign for £35? Absolutely not. I think this game, in all fairness, is probably worth about £15 to £20 at maximum, just from the game length. Of course, if you're going for a platinum trophy, you're going to bloat those numbers up because you're going to have to replay it a couple of times, which I will go through. But there's not much content there. There's really not much content there. I'm grateful that it was only £35. I still think that was way too expensive. You know, for what the game is, it definitely shouldn't be worth that much. If anything, it should be included as part of the PlayStation Premium pass, you know, for when they bring retro games from PS1 and PS2 back. That's what this game should be in. It should be like a game that you stream for free. Not free, but, you know, within your membership. That's the level of quality that I think this game is outputting, right? Going into the platinum journey even further now, so you need to, I don't know what the recommended playthroughs that you need to do. You could maybe do it in 2 or maybe 3. I played the game through on normal, then I had to go back and do each individual stage because you need to beat your dad's high scores. So you can drop the game down to easy and you can beat the high scores. It's essentially a speed run, so you need to speed run the game. Once you've played through it once and you've unlocked everything, it is fairly easy to speed run, which isn't a problem. You know, it's kind of annoying having to replay a game, but it's an interesting one having to speedrun. Don't really mind those trophies too much. Of course, you could obtain them on your first playthrough, but I was just trying to explore and things like that. So I played the game through once, played it again on the speedrun mode, just like jumping into them. And then there's some collectibles that are locked behind the hard difficulty. So you need to play the game on hard and you can get lollipop wrappers, which are the collectibles in the game. And there's also kind of like mini boss zombies in a way that appear that are part of like a collection book that you need to fill. So essentially you need to play the game through on hard to get all of the collectibles in the game, which is fine. You know, I could have started my playthrough on hard, but you know, I chose not to do that. I just wanted to enjoy it the first time round. So I've already played the game through once. I've already done the time trials, you know, a second time. So I'm at 2 playthroughs. I've played through the game on hard mode, and this is where it's kind of my mistake here for doing my journey the way I've decided to do it. But there's a trophy for completing the game in time attack mode. So this mode is a permadeath mode just on the chapters. So you play a chapter, and if you die in the chapter, you go back to the start of the chapter. Once you make it to the next chapter, if you were to die, you still stay in that chapter, thankfully, because I had a lot of problems in this mode in terms of soft locking and glitches. So I decided to combine my hard playthrough with the time attack mode. You know, it actually wasn't that big of an issue, to be honest. Like, the hard difficulty isn't too bad. It's more so that the glitches that I encountered. So that's 3 playthroughs of the game. So I think I've probably, if you do it in an optimal way, you're probably looking at 2 to 3 playthroughs. You know, 1 on hard mode doing collectibles, 1 in time attack mode, and then 1 doing the speedrun challenges, which can be quite short. You know, you can condense missions down to 20 minutes in some of them. So that's the way that I decided to do it. And I actually had to do a fourth one. First one, speed runs, hard and time attack. Yeah, so I ended up playing the game 4 times, unfortunately. And I'll get into the reason why I had to play the game for a 4th time. And this is where the sort of the platinum journey and rant comes in. So this game is riddled with, I don't even know what to call it. Is it a bug? Is it a glitch? You know, if you're familiar with the term soft locking, I think I've got this right in terms of definition. When you become soft locked in a game, it means that your game cannot progress forward. It's essentially glitched, and you need to either reload the checkpoint or close down the game, sort of just restart it, and hopefully you get out of this kind of like looped glitch where you can't progress any further. So this happened to me many times, like so many times within my time attack playthrough. So as I just explained, the time attack playthrough means that you cannot die. If you restart a checkpoint, you will go back to the start of the chapter. So in stage 1, I encountered an awful soft lock. And funnily enough, this was in my 2nd time in the time attack mode. So I'll get back to why I've had to play it through twice in just a second. But this was my 2nd playthrough, and this happened in stage 1. So in stage 1, you can spin on a pole and do a chainsaw attack, and then you're meant to chainsaw down a door to get out. For some reason, after doing this chainsaw move, my camera stayed fixed on sort of like the camera angle where you do like this move. It just stayed fixed. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't open the door to progress. I couldn't see anything. I was just stuck on this camera angle. So it doesn't matter where you are in this game, you are at some point going to encounter a glitch of some sort or a soft lock. These are the examples that I documented and sort of captured on my PlayStation with the share button, because I wasn't actively recording with my OBS, capture software on my computer. So it happened to me several times when I'd run into weird glitches. As I mentioned at the start of the video, when I would try to do the QTE sequences when pressing a button, it would be really delayed and not register, the input that I'm putting, which I guess is a bug within itself. And then moving on to, the rest of the game, on hard and time attack mode, it wasn't that bad, right? It wasn't that bad. You just take your time and it's fine. Stage 5 is where I ran into so many issues. So many issues in stage 5, and the difficult thing is that the Lewis boss fight generally is quite hard. It's in the name, right? You're playing the game on hard difficulty. Lewis's boss fight was tricky. I wasn't familiar with his attack patterns. Like any hard difficulty game, you need to learn the attack patterns. You need to sort of get a bit of practice and repetition in. Being in the time attack mode, I couldn't leave the mode. I was locked in, right? I had to stay in this game mode if I wanted to get the trophy. I had to stay in it. I couldn't back out to load a checkpoint and keep reloading the checkpoint to get my reps in against Lewis. Like, that's not an option, which is fair enough. I'm all for getting to the boss fight and dying and being like, okay, that doesn't work. I'll work out how to move a certain way to dodge this move, and it's a good learning experience. I don't mind that in a game. That's completely fine. The problem I had with stage 5 is that I encountered so many soft locks within this chapter, and alongside glitches as well. So I think the first glitch that I encountered was there's a section probably about 25 minutes into the chapter, getting to the final half of the chapter, last 3/4. There's an elevator that's going up, right? And there's a 1,000 kg limit, so zombies drop onto it and you need to kill them before they go over the weight counter. If the weight counter hits a certain weight, it just falls down and you lose your checkpoint and go back to the start of the chapter. There was 3 big zombies that came on to this lift platform, right? And obviously they weigh a lot more, so they were at like 900 kg, so I needed to kill them quickly. I've used my special chainsaw attack, which just like takes off their heads in one, and then they are technically dead, and they should have, the weight should have decreased because they're dead zombies. It didn't decrease. And then another wave of zombies jumped on, meaning that the lift went over 1,000 kg, it dropped, and I lost that chapter, so I had to restart. Really tiny thing, maybe I should have been a little bit quicker with the kills, but I just thought it was a bit dodgy. I thought it was really unfair that I've got the kills and it's not let me progress. And the weirdest thing about that section of that chapter is that the lift breaks anyway. So why can't you just let the lift break at the bottom because you achieved the same outcome? Really weird. The other kind of glitches that I had in this level as well is just before that lift, actually, there's a section where you need to use your chainsaw dash to go up a ramp and jump. For some reason, I don't understand why or how, but it happened to me like so many times. Like it was consistent in my playthroughs. It would take me like 2 or 3 attempts to actually go up this ramp, and you press R1, I think, and you're meant to dash up, but for some reason I'd be in the chainsaw animation running forward, and it's like there was an invisible barrier that wouldn't let me up. I don't understand that. Again, this goes back to the QT thing that I was saying earlier that was happening throughout the game. You're pressing a button, you're expecting a reaction, and you're not getting it. You're just sort of at an invisible barrier and hoping that the next time you get it, it's fine. So that happened, but you do actually get through it. It doesn't break your game. The other soft locks I had happened around the sort of towards the end of the mission. So just before you jump down to the Lewis boss fight, I guess after the lift actually, there's a section where you get 3 of the, I think they were like worker zombies. They're like the large zombies that take a lot of hits. You kind of have to kill, I think it's 12 or 13 zombies to progress to the next area. For some reason, as I didn't even do anything, I just jumped down into the level as you're meant to do, and I just got soft locked in the sense that I couldn't kill any of the zombies. I couldn't physically progress because I couldn't do any damage to them. Very bizarre. And I was like, what on earth? Like I can't run through to the next section because you need to press circle on like a minecart that goes down, and that only activates once all of the zombies are dead. So I'm literally there like, I'm gonna have to restart the checkpoint and ultimately go back to the start of the chapter because I can't physically get the kills, which was really weird. Like it was like my damage output was 0. Moving on through to the next section of that, there's also a section where you need to cut 4 beams with your chainsaw, and this actually happened to me 2 or 3 times, this particular soft lock, which is super frustrating. And you need to press triangle to cut down, and for some reason it wouldn't let me press triangle. It like completely glitched them all, so I couldn't cut any of these pillars down, and again I was soft locked into the area, like I couldn't leave the area, so I had to reset. These are just a couple of the glitches that have happened to me in stage 5, and they've happened at the end of the chapter. So bearing in mind with this entire story and the frustration of this going for this platinum is that I've faced the Lewis boss fight at the very end of the mission probably twice, right? It takes about 30 to 35 minutes on each run. So about an hour of my time was me messing up. Granted, skill issue, right? An hour of my time, fine. Resetting these runs, I think I was stuck on stage 5 for about maybe 3 to 4 hours. I was running through the sections and I would encounter a glitch, so I'd have to reset progress. I'm getting these at like the end of the chapter, so it's about 25 minutes to 35 minutes, probably 20 to 30 minutes, let's say, of progress each time, right? And it's really frustrating when you know that you need to practice a boss fight and you're not necessarily very good at it yet, and it just puts even more pressure on you because it's like, right, I'm fine with dying on the boss fight, but my issue was, right, I'm going to run for another 20 minutes here. I hope I don't encounter a glitch that means I can't get to the end. That's the thing that really frustrated me, like really got to me, because I couldn't practice the boss. Eventually, I did it. It was difficult. I found using one of the Nick tickets was quite helpful. There's one where like you can shake his head and it can actually give you some extra lives as well when you run out, which came in clutch. So that was the method that I used for beating Lewis on hard. So I did it. Hurrah. On to stage 6. And this is now the reason why I had to do a 4th playthrough. So if you remember, towards the start of this video when I mentioned that there are zombie collectibles that you get on hard mode, right? There's also, which I wasn't aware of because I didn't read a guide. Again, probably my fault, but I looked at the platinum list and thought, yeah, this is pretty easy. I don't need a guide for it, right? I was aware that you had to get collectibles on hard mode because somebody told me. I didn't know that there's one mini boss zombie in a way, called Jack, I believe, and he's dressed in a chicken costume. You can only find him in the time attack mode. So if you fail to kill Jack, you need to play the entire time attack mode again. So if you put it on a lower difficulty on normal, I think I probably did it in about 3 hours, right, to get to that point. Super frustrating that you have to waste another 3 hours of time to get a missable collectible on zombie. And the really frustrating section about this is if you die, you actually go back to your last checkpoint. So this stage 6 completely undermines every single other previous stage that you've done because you go back to the start of the chapter. In stage 6, do you go back to the start of the chapter? No, you go back to the last checkpoint. In games, I always say it whenever I'm streaming, I don't mind being bad at it, I don't mind losing, I don't mind not being good enough yet. Just be consistent in what you're doing in a game. As soon as you become inconsistent, it just really gets to me and really annoys me. So this particular mini boss that you're meant to kill, right, this named zombie, he gets shot backwards. No matter what you do, whether you hit him or shoot him with your gun, he starts going backwards, right? And I read in some forums, apparently if you lock onto him, which I don't even know the control to lock onto a zombie, I think it's one of the R1 or R3s, apparently that helps, because you can knock him backwards, like towards where you started the zone. So the key point here is there's an invisible barrier, right? There's an invisible wall, and if you walk past this invisible wall, you start the next cutscene, right? Reload the checkpoint, you can't go backwards. So with me, I see the zombie, I thought, okay, cool, he's moving backwards, I'm just going to use my chainsaw attack, and as I hit him, I go over this invisible barrier and go into the next section of the game. I try to reload the checkpoint, can't go back to the start of the level, so I have to replay the entirety of the time attack mode once I've finished this playthrough. So, once I finished my hard run, I then had to, unfortunately, play the game again. Encountered very similar issues when it comes to soft locks and things like that. Luckily, I was playing on the normal difficulty, so I could progress things a lot quicker. Still encountered all of the same glitches and all of the same problems and all of the annoying things that have been leading up on this journey. Finally, I got to the end of the game, and I just used my gun to take out Jack. I saved my ammo, and I just used my gun. I was very scared when I was streaming this, because I did it on stream. I was very scared that he was going to glitch sort of out of bounds, so I wasn't going to be able to get the kill, because the only way that I was going near him was with a gun, and obviously there's a kick of being shot backwards, right? I was very scared that he was going to get knocked into the next section and I was going to have to replay it again. Thankfully, he didn't. Killed him, got the last trophy, and ultimately got the platinum trophy for this game as well. I've been going on for about over 25 minutes now, just talking about my experience with the game and with the platinum, and you know, it's not a video that I normally do, right? I guess it falls into the is it worth platinuming series, right? And they're normally structured in a bit of a different way, but I guess this also falls into the series, but I'm actually telling you the reasons why I don't think you should platinum this game. Firstly, I don't think it's worth your hard-earned money, right? I would wait for this game, if you are going to buy it, to go on an extremely cheap sale, preferably £0, right? If that's even possible. Wait for this game to go on a sale, right? Option 1. Ask a family member, partner, friend, whoever, to get it for you for your birthday or Christmas. I think that's another logical way to get it, because you're not wasting your money, it's someone else's money, right? Or if you get given a gift voucher and you don't have anything to play and you want to waste it on that, by all means waste it on the game. I have taken the bullet here. You know, this video is coming out in October, the middle of October. I played the game at launch and continued my playthrough sort of into the first week of October, right? I think there may have been one patch that came out. I believe the devs are working on patching the game. I don't know what's wrong with the game. I think they're prioritizing fixing the PC version of the game. I don't know if they're aware of the problems that are happening on the PlayStation 5, for instance. I don't know if it's just me that's been plagued with these issues. I don't know if other people have had similar issues where the game is glitched, you know, things like that. I honestly don't think this game is worth platinuming. I think maybe if you watch a guide, right, and do it in... You could do it in 2 playthroughs. I don't think I'd recommend it, but you could do it in 2 playthroughs. You can play it on hard, and you can also do time attack mode. If you're somehow good enough, you could also get the speedrun trophies, so you could do it in 1 playthrough. I don't think that's going to happen, right? You could do it in 2, but I'd say 2 to 3 playthroughs is probably the optimal amount to play the game. With all of the glitches and things like that, I struggle to vouch for this game. While it has its moments where it's quite fun and it has a lot of potential to be good, I just don't think it's worth your sanity for a platinum trophy. And One of the things in trophy hunting that I always say is like, oh, well, you know, if you're not enjoying the game, give up. And I wish I did take my own advice, because it caused me to really hate the game, probably more than necessary. I wasn't hating it because I was bad at it, you know, I was hating at it because fundamentally the game was just glitchy and buggy. Like, it's not necessary. Is it a hatred for the game, or is it just a hatred for the way the game plays? I don't really know, because, you know, if I'm playing, let's say, a multiplayer game and I'm getting my butt kicked and I need trophies for that, if I'm not good enough, I can accept that and just move on, right? I've moved on with games in the past. This, however, is out of my control. It's not my skill issue. This is the game's issue, right? And I thought, I'm going to beat this platinum, if, you know, even if it kills me, which it generally did. It really took it out of me. And I hate to shit on a game so much, because I know a lot of people were excited for it. I myself was really excited for the game. I was sort of, I say a fan loosely, I was interested in the game and I really wanted to have fun with the game. And just unfortunately, my experience was riddled with the problems that, you know, you've seen on screen and that I've discussed. In the future, maybe a year down the line, or however long it takes them to fix the game, then maybe, yeah, it would be worth picking up the game and probably getting the platinum, because the platinum trophy isn't that hard on paper. You're just combating a bunch of bugs and glitches. It's like playing Crisis, you know, for the first time back when it was like blowing up PCs and stuff. Like, it's just not the best experience right now. So unless things change, and I in all honesty as well, I'm not going to make a follow-up. I don't know if things are going to change, and quite frankly, I don't care if they do change, because I'm done. I was doing some more research about the Nintendo Switch port of the game. Again, that sounds like it's a whole mess within itself. I can't comment on that too much because I don't have it on Nintendo Switch. I think it's a bit of a weird choice for them to put the game on the Nintendo Switch and also have it on like next gen, like PC and PS5. I just think there's definitely a gap in quality between a Nintendo Switch, right, and a PS5 and PC. And I'm thinking, if this game is designed for PS5s and then you're downscaling it to a Switch potentially, the PS5 version isn't going to be that good, because you're still having to, you know, tend to the lesser generation in a way. But I've seen a lot of issues with the frame rates on that. There's been a lot of issues on my PS5 copy, unfortunately. You know, I've seen some people not even be able to put damage on the final boss. So the sort of Elvis looking guy, they can't damage him, so they have to back out the entire game to do a hard reboot. I've seen the Lewis boss fight, when he's on his motorcycle, get stuck out of the arena. I've seen so many things, right? So many issues. I've had my own issues. Just take it with a pinch of salt. You could have a good experience. And, you know, if you're a diehard Lollipop Chainsaw fan and you've picked the game up, I hope that you have a good experience. If you're thinking about picking the game up, I would honestly advise, if you have a PlayStation 3, to buy a copy on PlayStation 3 and play it originally how it was meant to be played. Of course, not everybody has the luxury of owning a PS3, but I'd say that's probably the optimal way to play the game, funnily enough, in 2024, because the version in 2025 is awful. And, you know, I'll go back to what I said at the start of the video. I was expecting more. I was expecting the game to be very similar to the Dead Rising remake remastered thing that came out. You know, I was really expecting the game to look a lot better than it did, and also play a lot better than it did, but it didn't. I wasted my money. Please, please, please do not waste your money on this game. You know, I'm waffling now, I'm regurgitating points, but I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've disliked this video, that's completely fair enough. If you're in love with Lollipop Chainsaw, fair enough. You know, I'm not hating on the game directly, like the story of the game and things like that. You know, it was entertaining. It was a little bit short, but it is what it is. I'm just hating with the unfinished game that they've released, because in 2024 we've got standards for games, and the standard that this game was released in was a buggy mess. It was riddled with problems, and I hope they fix it. I really do, because if you are a genuine Lollipop Chainsaw fan and you were really excited for this and you had the same experience I did, you'd be devastated, and I don't want people to be devastated with a franchise they love. Luckily for me, you know, I was interested in it. It looked cool. I wasn't sort of a major fan of it, but I was a fan from a distance, and I had this experience. I can kind of cut my losses and say, I'm never playing a game from this studio again. I probably wouldn't, just from this experience, and I wouldn't be interested in anything to do with Lollipop Chainsaw again. I don't think you're going to get Lollipop Chainsaw 2. I don't think we're going to get a remaster, like an actual remaster, so it's fine, right? It's fine. But just as a warning, if you are a fan of the developers and the game itself, be careful, save your money. That's been me. If you want to catch me live streaming any of my platinum runs, I do it on a weekly basis on the channel, and I also upload platinum list videos, which people have been really enjoying recently, and also my platinum journeys and also platinum challenges that I do, like challenge runs. I put them into videos on the channel as well. So it's not always negative content like this, but I say negative loosely, right? I've got a platform, I've had an experience, and I'm entitled to share my experience. And, you know, it's almost educational for people watching this, because now you're educated on something that's happened. Take it, analyze it. Don't take it as gospel, because this was my siloed experience. But just bear it in mind if you are considering buying this game. But I've been Deathroff. Thank you so much for tuning in and getting this far in the video. And have a lovely day, weekend, month, year, whenever you're watching this. But I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.